Hello.
Hello, and welcome, dear hearts. I am very, very excited today and delighted to be able to introduce my guest this week. She is Araya AnRa, and she is a dragon guide. She's a Dragon Realm Emissary, and she has gained her dragon insight and sight to be able to see her own dragon aspect, and also to be able to communicate and share the wonders and the beauty and the wisdom of the dragon realms with the world also. So I'm very delighted and excited to be able to have a conversation with Araya today. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for bringing the beauty of the dragons through too.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I'll just give you a little glimpse because this will be fun. I don't usually like to move cameras, but this might be a fun introduction for your audience to see my wall. That's even just my office space.
That's incredible.
I am surrounded by dragons all the time, and there's always a different array. And so it's sort of fun. I get to choose the ones that are here with the energy for today. And I had a big insight this morning. I had a big thing come through this morning right before today's live. I do a live every week in my dragon group, and the energies were there. And so these were two of the four dragons that were merging into an energy line. So anyway, I'll leave that and let you lead us forward wherever you'd like to take us.
Well, let's start. Let's start with your own transformation from the old life that you were living and how you transformed and moved into a new life and a new reality, and how the dragons came through to you.
Okay, well, that's hopefully I can summarize it in not too long, because it can be a long story, but it's a fun place for me to go back to. And I love that you're starting there, because it's going to allow those people that maybe don't feel like they are spiritually connected, or maybe they don't feel like they can hear the dragons or their guides or get that guidance, to really honor and confirm that, you know what, you're going to wake up and you're going to have all that open. And if I could, then anybody can. And I have had, with my birth numerology, I started off in a 1 cycle. So every 9 years, I seem to go through a radical transformation. And I've had multiple throughout my life. I'm 54 now, so I've just completed another big one. And it was when I was 36 that I had a grand awakening. So back in 2002 to 2003, 9 years before that, I had learned how to meditate. And I had spent 10 days in a Buddhist monastery in Thailand. Not sure what really led me there, but I had a natural, deep connection. And it opened up some things for me that really put that in my field as a seed for a later potential opening. So there are things that drop in your journey that you never know when the door is going to open from them. But the fact that I allowed that in, and then I let it percolate for those 9 years until it was ready to really be used. So I had an odd experience in 2002. I was actually a Chamber of Commerce director in Wyoming, where I lived. And so all about business, graphic design, getting the community together. I wore every hat possible from all of my previous work experiences. And I was the party planner. I was the accountant. I was the interface with the public tourism. I was, absolutely every hat. And I was overworked, underpaid, really miserable, and had finally gotten to the place that for me was a pinnacle of proving something to my dad, of a validation of a career, or proving my value, or proving my worth, using my education, all that good stuff. That is all these external expectations that really limit and close us in a box. And I started having, my birthday was in October, and about mid-June, I started having this questioning of, what am I doing? Am I going to stay with this? And then I literally felt, for the first time in my life, an energetic hand, literally like there was a hand, and I know it was my spirit guides, pushing me straight in my back to quit. And I keep saying, well, if I quit, what am I going to do? What would I do then? Because I had a mortgage, I had lots of animals, I had an acreage to take care of. And it just kept pushing and it kept pushing. And so I had to go out on a limb of faith. And that's usually what we have to do at some point in our journey to really trust our higher guidance on ourself, which I now understand was my higher self guiding me forward and saying, it's time to get on track. You came here to do big things. You're not doing them because you're so worried about, pleasing dad or pleasing family or all these other things. It's time to get on track. So from there, I quit my job. What that did was allowed me that winter. I didn't know how I was going to take care of everything, but I allowed myself an hour minimum every morning to meditate. I set that aside as my priority. And sometimes it would be 2 hours. And then the information and the insights start coming. And that's where everything went 180 degrees. Everything changed for me from that point forward because I started connecting in. And it wasn't the dragons to start with. It was actually Metatron, who's an archangel. I have a deep connection to him. And he came forward and started working with me with energy. And I have healing hands. And he was basically reminding me of who I am. He was reminding me of my gifts. And so he would give me insight or ideas in my meditations of, all right, now try this. Oh, now try it on friends. Oh, now try it on other people. And so he just kept broadening my horizons. And I kept having experiences with others in my community, got gifted with another guide physically in my life who was a friend that lived down the street, maybe at least 20 years older than me. It was sort of like a mentor in the community. And he had a great intuitive gift. And what he would do was come over, and anytime we would travel or ride to we would go to sweat lodges and things when we'd be riding together, or we'd just be visiting over tea or something. He would bring these stones, arrowheads, different pieces he had collected over the years. He had a strong Native American connection. And he would lay them in my hand and say, tell me what you get from this. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Tell me what you get from it. So I would sit and I would hold it, and it would literally start speaking to me. And I would get visuals and images. And that's how my clairvoyance and claircognizance opened, was by this gift of this person coming in my life who could validate everything that I was saying, because I could tell, well, it was used as a bird point. It was used in hunting. It was used in a war or a battle. It was in this area of the country. And he could confirm it because he actually gathered them himself. He found them over his years and he knew the stories behind all of them. And so that just kept opening me. The dragons came in about, probably 3 or 4 years later when they really started presenting themselves. And that was maybe not that long, because the first time the dragons came in, I was doing energy healing work on people. And I started recognizing the hip pain, lower back, hip, lower back, and upper shoulders, center of the back, right where the wing plates would be. And that's when I tell you what, it took me by surprise. I was not expecting it. And I was working on this person. And all of a sudden I started feeling this long, long tail and these wings. I'm like, how do I describe this to them? I didn't really know what to tell them, because you can't just say, well, at the time I didn't believe I could just say, you have a dragon energetically stuck in your body. It's trying to emerge. So I released it, and then I sort of gently introduced, the topic, or, there's something stuff. And people that had had sciatica or back pain or things for months, even years, as soon as that session would go through, it was released. And they were like, I don't know what just happened. I say, well, this is part of it. The rest will unfold over time. So that was the beginning. That's where the dragons started for me.
Wow. And the journey of step by step, learning to trust and allowing. And by you giving that time to meditate in the morning, first of all, you were starting to change your own frequencies and calling forth a new way, really. So you were doing it from inside. Incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's really the journey that has to happen.
Yes.
Whatever guidance we get externally, and I am a guide, so I guide people. I have, an 8-month program for the Way of the Dragon Heart. I have book clubs. I have one-on-one sessions. So it's like a life coaching. I do that as a guide, but all of the information that comes through from a guide is literally the signposts for you to then access it and open yourself, because nobody can do the work for you. Nobody can, I might be able to heal and move debris, but you have to be able to release it from within. And you go through phases of, all right, I'm willing to open to the next piece, next piece, next piece. I just happened to need a guide that was a spirit guide coming forward. When Metatron stepped in, I was blown away. And it was literally, it was hard for me for a long time because I felt like you needed to have a certificate on the wall to be valid, that people would come to you as a healer if you had, a Reiki master certificate or some kind of healing modality certificate. And so I never had that. And what's interesting about it is it's like I felt some part of me believed I needed it to be valid. And yet the greater part of me knew, like, this is working and I'm doing it. And it was literally about remembering. He basically helped me remember what I already know how to do. And that's a huge trust lesson. I think the last 3 years for people, what I consistently see moving forward is it's all about trust. The more and more and more you trust yourself and your guides and let go of control, let the boat just take you downstream, whether you hit the shore, hit rocks, go over a waterfall, whatever, it's going to be exactly what you need. You have to let go and trust yourself. And that's really where it started for me, in taking that and going, okay, he wants me to work with people. He wants me to do this. He wants me to do that. And I had opportunities come where those guides kept coming, like my friend with the rocks, like the woman that I worked with doing activations globally that made energy not just tangible in a one-on-one field, like knowing your auric fields. I mean, to step into a session with someone and actually already know how to seal an auric field or recognize where there's tears or move stuff out or recognize the debris, that's what was within me already. And then I did these events with this woman, and all of a sudden I recognized the ability to feel my entire self, to expand up to like 40 feet tall and go, whoa, okay, energy just broadened up again. And to allow those things to just keep, and your pathway will unfold. And right now we're in an opportunity where it's snowballing, right? We have this open time expanse opportunity of take advantage right now. And the snowball is going to get going, and you're going to watch progress much more rapidly than I did. As I said, I started in the fall of 2002, really tackling it, giving my real intention to it. It was a couple of years before the dragons really slid in. It was 2007 when I actually went over to the UK to write the book after a big activation that I can share if you want me to. It's a story that took place in Hawaii. And then, from then until now, it was 4 years ago that I actually stepped into it full time. That I find the dragons finally said, look, we got work to do. Get on it here. And it was not until 4 years ago that I started full time doing this all day, every week of the year.
Share with us the activation in Hawaii and all
that was amazingly special. It was another turning point. If I had already gone 180, I've completed the 360 at that point. I was at a gathering of women, and it was a male facilitator. It was called the Win with the World Gathering. And I went over there expecting to be a participant, to, expand myself, learn something, share with other women. And I go, and even as I arrived at the hotel, the facilitator was there speaking with someone, and I went over and said hello. And he turned and he said, oh, you're the one with the dragon connection. And I said, yes. He said, you're going to have a role to play this weekend. I said, oh. And back then I was very sarcastic. It was a way to deflect anything coming at me. It was like one of my barrier walls, right? I use sarcasm in that way of pushback. So I sarcastically said, well, if you get any more about that, you let me know. And I just sort of wrote it off as I don't know what he's talking about. Well, as the weekend unfolded, there was a piece where we stepped into our power, where we stepped into our own knowing and claiming. And in that moment, when we went in and got what was called your womb name, I came later to understand it was my dragon name. And because I'm dragon, not everybody there was dragon, but for me it was dragon. And I went in and I came out of this meditation, and we needed to stand up and claim our name. And the name I had heard was Tana. And as you probably know, Tana is my full dragon. She's very powerful. She's very intimidating. And she's massive. And so here's this Tana. And I was like, I can't announce that. I wasn't ready to really own it. And I wasn't until 4 years ago. Yeah. So, that may have been Tana's interference there with the sound. Her vibrational field is massive. So I could see that affecting technology. So when I stood up to actually announce my name, all I was able to do was Tanaya. And I was like, okay, I can sit with Tanaya. It didn't even dawn on me until a few years later that Tanaya was the absolute meeting point between Tana and Araya. That it was the midpoint, that I could go to the midpoint and meet her halfway, but I couldn't actually fully embrace her yet. And so that was the beginning of me connecting with. And then we did on the final day, there was an activation in the water. It was in Hawaii. So it was in a beautiful lava pool. The tide was coming in, so the water was coming up over the wall to fill this sacred pool. And it's a birthing pool in that area. And when we were standing on the seashore, he had said, you're going to have a big role to play here in this activation in the water. And I was like, okay. And all of a sudden I knew that my dragon, because she resides under the Pacific, she came forward and I felt her out in the ocean. And somehow she managed to send at least a part of her, because she's massive, and it was a small sacred pool, like maybe 2 bedrooms worth, not huge. I went in, and in about 3 feet deep of water, I went in to meet her, and I felt myself underwater thrashing and merging energetically. And at one moment I came up out of the water and I looked at the group and the horizon and the beach there. And I was looking through her eyes. It was literally, they were not my human eyes. It was literally like there was a lens over it that was hers. And she was for the first time looking on land in a very different way. And that was the first time I merged with her and realized really who I was. And then this amazing outpouring of knowing what to do with every person. So every one of the 12 other women came into the birthing pool, went through a ceremony where they got blessed by the dragon energy and activated. There was a light language coming through me. There was just a knowing of what to do, where to hold the energy on each person. It was absolutely phenomenal. And it was one of those things that you can't really ever explain, but marks your life as a moment in time that changed everything. And it was during that trip that over lunch a couple of days, like, no, was it that trip? Yeah, it was a couple of days later. He turned to me and he said, you have a book to write now. And I said, yeah, I do. I didn't even blink. And 6 weeks later, I was on a plane to the UK because I had to be in Glastonbury to write it.
Wow. And it's showing me how we are all multidimensional beings. We all have a dragon aspect. We may not know it. We may not have reached that frequency yet, or even explored it, or played with it. But there is that dragon aspect within each of us. And so I wanted to just explore a little bit more about you discovering yourself as your dragon aspect, as Tana. And you've mentioned that you felt she's very, very strong. There's a big energy and it's very different. How is it different to, it's a frequency change and a big one, and it took time for you to embody it.
Indeed, it did. So where it started, when I went over to write the book, she sort of backed off a bit because I had already connected with her. And so that dragon aspect for me, so when you say everyone has a dragon aspect, they do, because the dragons are holding this grid. The dragons are the matrix keepers or the grid keepers of this universe. They agreed to do that. And because of that, there is a dragon aspect within every being born in this realm, or every human. But it doesn't mean they're necessarily dragon themselves. So there is a subtle difference that everyone has a dragon aspect that they can wake to and access for guidance, for clarity, for moving through things quickly. But there are those that are actually dragons who are embodied in human form, who are here to wake up to that and bring more of that magic and more of that realm in for the shift that we're in, for the ascension journey of humanity. So when I went to write the book, I would sit every day, and I knew there were all these different dragons, but I didn't know all of them yet. So every day I would sit and just communicate with a different one. And so the magic of that, and this is about that journey of trust, is letting the divine unfold, letting synchronicities align to take you there. So I knew I needed to go to the UK. I knew I needed to be in Glastonbury. I knew I was going to be there at least 3 weeks. And the bed and breakfast there are a little out of my price range at that time in my life. And I thought, I don't want to spend that kind of money for 3 weeks, maybe for a week or a short holiday. But if I'm going to be there long term, I want to find a little place with a small kitchen or a little refrigerator, a hot plate, something that could sustain me while I'm just writing and connecting. So lo and behold, I get connected to the Paddington Farm Trust. That's where I landed. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but where I ended up, my bedroom, where I was, the unit that I was in, was the closest in proximity building that I could have possibly been in to the actual dragon ley lines that run through the tour in Glastonbury. I was only a couple hundred yards from them, or a couple of 200 meters, 200 yards, 200 meters. That astounded me because I learned that in hindsight. So I'm there and I just connected every day with one and I let them talk through me. And that's how I wrote and brought the book through. And then I tied it all together later. But in that, every step forward has been about me connecting with the different aspects of it. Okay, now open to this, now open to this, now bring this in. And I will say that before I really owned it fully, I backed and pushed it away for a few years. After I wrote the book and it was out there, I let it do its thing organically. I still paid attention to everybody that was buying and downloading it. But I went through a phase where I needed to question everything. I had several different teachers over my journey, and there was a piece of me that was trying to reconcile how it all fit together. Well, if I believe in God and Mother, Father, God as this divine source, creator energy, where do the dragons fit in that? If I believe I'm a dragon, where do I fit with God? If I believe this, there were several different pieces. And I was like, you know what? Put them on the shelf. Let it all come through in its own time and just sit with where you're at right now. And so then I just lived, and I had my first son, and I was just focused on being a mom. And then I was, working. I found myself working back in my family's business. They'd invited me into it for 10 years, and I was always arm's length of no, thank you. And then it was like, all right, it's time to do that because I'm back here. I live in Reno, Nevada, and I was back here because my whole family is here. And I knew it's finally time to heal all my family wounds. This is my final piece for my emotional embodiment, my emotional healing. I've got to dive into my family. Mm-hmm. And so I dove into the family business. I did that for 4.5 years. And it was all right, dragons are the background. I'm just going to be focused on 3D living. And here it is. And it was a completion piece that I needed because in that time when I didn't focus on it, all the little threads wove themselves together.
Because you weren't in your head, you were in your heart and you were feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was coming through.
And I just let it be. And that's when my guides came in again and they said, you need to move into something different. This isn't your path. And they led me to reflexology. I'm like, oh, what? I had pre-arthritic thumbs. I was not in a space. I'm like, you want me to do reflexology? And then I did a master or a Reiki 1 and 2 training. Part of me was like, all right, if I'm going to go this way and go into this path, I have to have certificates on the wall, all these stupid secular beliefs.
Yes.
But I went with it. And the whole point, I spent 7 months, a lot of money and a lot of hours on this reflexology training, was really quite good at it. And the whole reason it came through was because when I had to do the 75 hours of practicum of people on my table getting my handwork on their feet and the energy work that came with that, one of the ladies that came across my table was the entire reason that I did the reflexology certification, because she was a coach and I ended up doing her program for a year. She was the one, we had a soul contract and we had an angelic connection. First session I had with her, we're both in tears on the floor of remembrance with a circle of angels around us. And I was astounded. I was absolutely astounded. And she, over that year, took me through, because it was like, it was about bringing a soul-based business in. And in the connection to more aspects of myself, she was the one being that helped me actually connect to why I couldn't own my power as a dragon. It was the one piece that was blocking me. It was about being able to own my power, because if I was public and visible as a dragon, I was going to be shackled. I was going to be imprisoned. I was going to be shackled. And I was terrified of that again, because it had happened in more than one incarnation as dragon. So when it finally like popped through, I went, oh my God. And from that point forward, everything in my path opened up. The day before Thanksgiving that fall, everything about the group, like, all right, on my Facebook, it's got to be a dragon group. It's called For the Love of Dragons. I put it all together in like an hour or two. The day before Thanksgiving, talk about a thing to go into gratitude with. And that was where I now am with all the programs, all the Oracle deck, getting inspired to redo the book in print, in full color. I mean, it's been incredible to watch it unfold now, and the number of dragons that are ready to wake up, because they were right. It's time, and we have a big bandwidth. We have to wake up everybody, and it's go time. The dragons are going to go mainstream. So let's get the ones that are, especially for some reason, I get the masters that find me that are going to be the really big beacons. They're the bigger ones out in the mesh that like have a big role to play. So it's been very interesting to watch over 4 years of the program unfolding, who comes to me, how they find me. It's been such an amazing journey, and that I just get to keep meeting more dragons. So the beauty is, people think, oh, she's got it made. She's already there. She's doing what she loves. She's on purpose. She's living her soul purpose. And yes, and it all keeps unfolding. Mm-hmm. Because it's not ending. It's literally,
it's infinite.
It's a level of trust that I keep getting pushed more and more into. And the more I trust, all right, I've got to create, the first year was a 9-month program. All right, I've got to create 36 2-hour classes. If I had put that in my head right from the get-go, I would have never done it. And it was, all right, 1 week at a time. Surrender to this week. What information is there that needs to come through? Next week, surrender. What information? And then I found this beautiful course developing. And it was at the end of the first year, I didn't put the Pleiadian dragons in the book. I knew they were there, but they weren't talking yet. Only the Syrians had really connected. And the Araya dragons, they're the 5th and 6th dimensional dragons. The Pleiadians are beyond that in the 7th to 9th dimension. So as I continue to trust, all of a sudden, the Pleiadian dragons start showing up in the 8th month of that program. And then the next year, the Middle Earth dragons started showing up. I had worked with the emerald, the sapphire, and the ruby, but then the amethyst, the peridot, the diamond, all of these, the cornea, they started presenting. Okay. 3rd year, the Andaran dragons start showing up. I didn't even know there was such a thing. So the beauty of it is that even my own expansion keeps going, because it's been waiting for not just me to be ready, but for the planet to be ready to embrace the level of frequency that they bring and to be able to translate it. So they couldn't come to me until I could actually translate the higher vibrational energies that are carrying the information to bring it through. So we're all, whatever your journey is, it's a constant unfolding and dropping into trust.
And there's so many places I want to go with you as well, because there's so many things. I find it so fascinating with you that everything comes through the dragons, so the Syrian, the Pleiadian, all these our multi-dimensional aspects, and it's this immense dragon connection with you. For me, I'll feel the frequency of maybe it's the Andromedan or the Arcturian frequency. And you were mentioning these Andarian dragons. While working with the Andara crystals is a big activation for me. But I'm just fascinated that your journey it's all seeing it with your dragon sight, all the dragon realms, and how it's working in that way. So really potently and clearly, and so these wisdoms coming through these incredible beings as well. So after that, then, how about we talk a bit about the ley lines? You were mentioning them, that you felt them in Glastonbury, the dragon lines, the connection with those. And also, when you were talking about reflexology, I was thinking about the grid work we hold in the body, the different grid works that we hold. So we have the 3D, the 4D, the 5D, all these different grid works inside, but we don't activate them until we are ready, and that we make those changes, that we start to meditate, to move from one grid work to the next. So for you, with the reflexology may be indeed that you were starting to work with the grid works within the bodies of those beings that were there too, to assist with that.
Yeah, it was very interesting for me to have the hands-on, because even in my healing energy work, it was always working around the energy body, around the auric field. It was never hands-on. And that was why, I want to say somewhere around 2008 or 9, might have been sooner than that. It was not long after a trip where I met some people in Spain, might have been 2006 or 7. I was inspired to work remotely for the first time, and to try and do my energy healing work across the continent. So I had a good friend in Spain who allowed me to do a session with her. And when she finished it, she said that was the most powerful energy session, because she had a lot of friends who were practitioners and did stuff. And she said, that's the most powerful one I've ever had. And you're several thousand miles away. And it dawned on me, so that it's because it's energy. And when we get out of the way, a lot of times when we're hands-on, we get distracted with, what's the person doing, or there's noises in the room, or all these different things that are part of an actual physical face-to-face. And when it's energetic and you're just stopping and tuning in to a deep meditative state for yourself, and I can be there energetically, it's literally like as soon as I tune in, we're face-to-face. We might as well be sitting 2 inches apart on the floor together, because that's what our energy bodies do. They go through time and space and meet there. And that was a big opener for me of how energy actually works, how the universe actually works, how the grids actually work. So when you bring in reflexology, it was very interesting to be hands-on and to actually feel the stuff going on in that person, because I had my hands on. There was like the reading space opened up bigger. And when I work with the ley lines, typically, because who Tanai is as a big dragon, I have big grid points that I needed to activate, but there are many other beings activating the grid lines, that it's not just the dragon. The dragons hold them, but because they interlace with all these other sectors of beings, so there can be star beings, can be the angelic realms, can be the fairy realms, the rainbow realms, that all of those beings that are here have a role to play in activating those grids and bringing the communal harmonic in. And so when you're just talking about that with the ley lines in our body, you have to always remember everything is on a micro macro. So the micro level it's down to our cellular level. It's down to even the ionic level within that, or the atomic level within that. It goes out to the global, goes out to the galactic, the cosmic, the universal. So all of these things play out on these big and small fields, where you can see the mirror when you see stuff happening for you, where it's mirroring in the bigger pictures. So yes, working on the grid lines, getting them activated, it's absolutely mirroring our own process of our own grids that match those within our body field on a much smaller framework. And getting them cleared out, getting the energy flowing again, getting them running. It's the exact same thing we're doing when we say we're doing a grid activation. I'm doing an activation point in Tibet. I'm doing this in Hawaii. And I've done several around the world. And then with COVID coming in, oh my goodness, you get to take this to the remote level. You get to step up into a new playing field of my guides coming in and saying, all right, Mount Fuji trip was canceled. All right, Australia trip was canceled. Do it remotely. And it was equally the experience of so much more powerful because I could bring more people involved. The circle got bigger, which adds exponentially for every person involved in the circle to create that blast of energy to open it up. And it's not necessarily about a like a bomb of energy going in to open something. It's literally about that much heart connection, calling it forth and saying, ooh, there goes my body. It's the heart connection of we want that energy on the planet. We want it to come through. We're opening this doorway now. Let it flow freely. We're connecting in the dragons. And 2 years ago, I had dragon hearts that their dharmic purpose came through. A part of what they do, they had a very deep connection to Middle Earth. They had their own missions wake up of portal or doorways and access points between Middle Earth and the surface that had been closed off for eons and needed to be opened again. And it's the same thing. We're opening, just like through our body, Gaia's body, all the layers all the way around. And once you know what you're doing, I had to do a couple in person physically, had to see the mechanics of how it worked. And that even unfolded in my first Dragon Heart program. I went to Sedona. That was the first set of activations. I didn't know what I was doing. I just trusted it. And when I knew the sequence and the layout, when I saw it and we practiced it in a yoga studio that was attached to the house that I rented for the retreat, all of a sudden this grid point it actually ended up being one of the points that was necessary that I hadn't seen. And my guides were like, we're going to surprise her. And all of a sudden, this was one of the points, and it activated while we were practicing because we were there gathered together. Whoa. So I learned how to do it, do a few of those hands-on. All of a sudden, the universe is going to change the rules. Oh, you can't go there anymore physically. All right, then we can do it remotely. And I tell you what, the one in Uluru in Australia last December, powerhouse. It was amazing because they were having not a closed ceremony, but they wanted only Indigenous or local people hands-on.
Yes.
And they kept it small, which was perfect for what needed to happen for the magic box to be lit up under Uluru. But what that allowed was millions to tune in. My group, other groups, we all aligned at the same time. And wow, did it expand things, which if we'd been able to travel, I probably wouldn't have involved quite as many people. I wouldn't have put the call out and said, all right, let's do it from wherever we are. Let's come together at this time, this hour. I'm going to lead it. It was amazing.
And you're also participating in creating a unified field of a higher consciousness of people together, working together for the same intention. So exactly. By practicing that, that we are starting to strengthen that new crystalline grid work. It's so magical. Share with us about the new frequencies then that are coming through now, or the new dragons that you've been experiencing. I know you've mentioned in some of your videos how heart expansive the higher realm dragons have been for you, and how you've been able to just lose yourself in that awe and bliss with them.
Well, what's happening right now, I think it's interesting that you brought in the unification of those energies and what that's been teaching us how to do, because when we are moving from 3D to 5D, we're moving into the new earth, the quantum realm, the fifth dimensional, whatever you want to call it. The harmonic we've been in, 3D, is very much an individual harmonic. It's about the self, the individual journey. We aren't really hyper-focused on community, right? It's been really about me. Yes, I have connections. Yes, I'm involved, but it's always a linear I give, I receive, I do this. It's not a big spherical woven together unit, which is what everything in 5D is. And so the dawning of this information coming in as new concepts, seeds of potential of, wow, how do we operate in communal? How do we operate in communal harmonic? That seeding of pulling groups together is beginning to open people to that. And I find it interesting we're talking today because it was literally just this morning on today's live, before today's live, I had a new experience with the dragons work. Even all along, they've been working with me where you can merge them, you can call in multiples together, but they will always show up as, all right, here's so-and-so, here's so-and-so. Oh, here's the sapphire dragon, here's the black dragon, here's the gold dragon, here's the crystal dragon, here's the air dragon, where I was always interfacing one-on-one because I had to initiate with them. I had to reconnect with them. I was going to say meet them, but it's really about reconnecting of, all right, now I recognize your energy stream. I know who you are and I can recognize you. Same with the others. So when dragons would start showing up in multiples, they would still stay individual. Today it changed. Today there was a fusion happening, and it was all about this communal harmonic starting to be seeded into the collective so that we can make that leap into the communal harmonic that is the quantum conscious realm. They came in this, and this is why I'm wearing teal. It's summer here. It's probably a 9,500 degree day, which is over 30 in centigrade, like 30, 33. And the only piece of wardrobe in my closet that is teal, because I like to wear the color of the energy that is present that day, is long sleeve. I'm like, really? Oh, okay. I'm going to just sweat through this. It's going to be okay. But there was this fusion of teal energy. And I want to describe it because it's so much about the harmonic we're moving into. That they came in and I was like, all right, teal. Is there a new teal dragon? Is there a teal stone that I need to connect with? So I actually started Googling, like, where is a teal colored stone? Is it a kind of turquoise? Is it a teal sapphire? Is it some kind of a jade? It wasn't fully transparent. It was a bit opaque, and that's what confused me. And then I started feeling the streams of energy within it. I dove into it, I let myself drop into it, and it was sapphire, it was peridot, and it was emerald, and gold. And the gold dragon, so the Middle Earth dragons are those gemstones, and they hold close to, not quite a fourth dimensional, they stay within the 3D bandwidth because they're part of this realm. But they're very, very close to that fourth dimensional bridge work, which makes them so clear and transparent, different than the deep earth dragons that are more opaque, like a jade or a moldavite that you can't really see through. So then I feel the gold dragon. The gold dragon is what's making the whole thing look opaque. He's holding the fifth dimensional grid. He's actually the gold, the whole foundational grid work, the geometric foundation within the quantum new earth is gold with a crystalline overlay. The feminine crystalline energetic is what surrounds and upholds the rest of the structure. But the underlying masculine gold framework is gold. And so he's in there and he's showing me these guys are fusing together. They're trying to show and bring communal harmonic in with the basis and the framework of the new earth, of the gold. And I was astounded by it. I ended up talking about it on today's live, and then again in my Dragonheart class today into a deeper level. But it's the fusion. They weren't showing up individually. They were showing up unified, already merged, to plant that seed of the communal harmonic energy within us so that we can start making that leap forward. So as you said, all right, last December, introducing, bringing the energies together, letting people know you can actually connect energetically with everybody on the planet like a web, and you can see it, and you don't have to worry about, oh, I got to be on a phone call, or I got to be on a Zoom, or no, you just tap in. You project with your intention. Your intention is the most powerful tool you have. And you use your intention, you tap into it, and you'll feel it. And you go, whoa, that information alone wakes something up in people. They're like, that's possible? You plant possibility, And that opens to potential, because then everything is out there and available. So here we have that drop in December. And now here in August, 8 months later, they're actually showing like, all right, you're ready to fuse now. You're ready to actually really embed and embody. What is that weaving together? What is that where you're so deeply connected? And I'm going to share this little story because it happened just like 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was camping, because it's about this. My Dragon Heart group of those that have completed the program in the last 3 years is very tight. It's a very deeply core energetic connection with their family members, right? So in our move forward towards our light bodies, one of the bodies is about telepathic communion. As we move into it, that becomes our new mental body, is a telepathic communion body. And I had an example of that actually operating, where I was brought from sleep state into an awake state because one of my Dragon Heart family was calling out energetically for help. Didn't make the actual solid connections till a phone call many hours later, but I heard a help me. And I heard a young woman's voice saying, help me. And it actually put me into a panic right away. I woke up and I'm camping and I'm near the woods and there's no other like tents or trailers that direction away from me. I thought, oh my God, when young woman's being abducted, what do? Do I get out of bed? Do I run out, get flashlights? And I had to sit with it and go, wait a minute, that's not coming from this realm. Came through. And it was within several hours, maybe that was 4 a.m. I let myself go back to sleep to try and go in and get more information. Finally had a connection to one of my Dragon Hearts and realized when I asked for clarity, like, who is this? Boom, there was her face. Called. So what were you doing at this time of your time zone? I was actually in a space where I was calling it, I needed help. And I went, I got it. That's what happened. So we ended up doing an amazing healing session. That's how the Andara came to me, because I was in Shasta. And there was an Andara waiting for me. And it unfolded into all of this. I go to the store, I do a healing with the stones in the store. One of them needs to go to her, one needs to go to me. It was just unbelievable how it unfolded. But it's that the communal harmonic is now starting to be embedded within us through all of our grid lines and all the openings that have happened. And even if you're not there yet, because the groundwork has been laid, this is what the front wave of light workers has done. They're pushing through the inertia and the new territory, because this has never been done before. Humanity has never gone into their light body and maintained their presence here. They've ascended. There's been many civilizations that went and ascended into a different vibration, but they didn't maintain their physical body. So we're breaking ground. This is new territory, right? So we're doing this just because you're not there yet. Maybe you don't feel like your grids are activated. Maybe you still have a lot of trauma in your body or physical stuff that's going on. When you start, the process is going to roll through so fast because the groundwork's been laid. So I might be talking Greek to a bunch of listeners or whoever's going to watch and hear this later, but there'll be pieces in there for them. And I know that the way that my energy field and the dragons work is you can listen to this 20 different times and pick up a different piece. Just like the book, you can read it every couple of months and something else will grab you because of where you are in that moment on your journey, because you keep evolving. So you hear more, you hear deeper, something else grabs you.
Does Tiama evolve within you too? Do you feel her evolving? Has she changed?
Tiamat. Tiamat is very interesting. Tiamat for me is so there's a lot of stories written and stuff about Tiamat being she is chaotic, she's destruction, she's a lot of information out there portrays her as almost destructive or not necessarily a positive entity to interact with. And it's sort of a facade or like what she's probably put out to those beings that were trying to connect without the right intent. So she let them believe, all right, you believe what you want to believe. Stay away from me. Stay away from my girl. She's holding the space around Gaia. She's wrapped around Gaia like the guardian mother going, nobody's touching her deep core consciousness. She will be protected and held until she's ready to birth. And she can only birth into the 5th dimensional field, into the full new earth when humanity is ready. So for me, Tiamat did come through originally as like this menacing, big red eye, always a big red eye. Like, what are you doing? You check, like, who are you? What do you want? And then this rapport builds. And so for me, she's this great mother. She's one of those big, powerful mothers that's like, don't mess with my kid. Like the big cave bear mom, right? That's going to protect her kids no matter what. And I find it interesting because she's counterbalanced with Tianu, who holds a feminine principle in the trine of those dragons in the core, who's the very soft feminine, holds the nest. She's the den mother, the embrace, whereas Tiamat is that roaring, I'm going to come after you if you touch my kid. But what I learned about Tiamat, very interestingly, is she is, as Gaia births, what happens to Tiamat? She's actually released from her responsibilities. This is where the celebration is starting for many of the dragon clan and families and members, because the responsibilities they've held for eons are about done. We're starting to pass the batons, because the Lyrians, all the Lyrian kingdom, the felines, the lions, they're coming in to take the grid over once it moves into 5D.
Beautiful.
That exchange is already happening. Woo, there's my full body tingles. And so the more that happens, when they've had to interface for a while to, like, you can call it training if you like, or here's my replacement, let me show you what to do. Even though they already know exactly what to do, but they were holding the space together for a time, waiting for certain points in the grid to be ready to be released. Dragon can hand over their baton, Lyran takes over. Dragon is now free to go do what it wants. Dragon can come down and be a guide and help more people wake up, which a lot of them are doing. Dragon can go off and return to family and other universes where they hail from, or realms. Well, Tiamat is no different. She is going to release Gaia and be like free to go. Well, I got to experience in this meditation, I was working, and all of a sudden I was not read. There was a golden eye in front of me. And I was confused. I was like, who are you? It's Tiamat in her higher vibration, has a golden eye. And so I know which field I'm connecting with her in based on the eye color. And she lets me see her truth in that higher vibration when I can go there. So Tiamat's a really interesting subject that you bring up, because she's just a big loving dragon. I mean, all the dragons, they put on this facade of menacing, foreboding, sort of scary energy sometimes, but it's because they're testing you. They're testing to see if you're really serious about your journey, about opening up, about working with them. And so they'll scan, they'll do a test, they'll like try you on for size, see if you back away, or if you're really like, no, I want to do this.
I've had just a few experiences with them. So when I lived in Chile, it was very dry, never really rained. And so there would be fires quite a lot. And close to where I was living, there was this beautiful mountain. And one day it caught on fire, and there were homes there too. And then I could see some of the helicopters would come and drop water every now and then. But the fire seemed to be unstoppable. And then feeling into it, there was fear coming from me, fear that, it's out of control. And then, but when I was tapping into it, I could feel a dragon energy there, and then see sort of an interdimensional dragon there, just communicating to say, no, you're misunderstanding this situation. This is to transform this area. So this is a transformation that's happening. But it was appreciated then. Once I understood, okay, so how can I be of assistance? Because the fear wasn't assisting. And so then to tune into how I could assist in whatever way then with that. But that was a big understanding for me.
The purification that's under
the purification. And also, to look again and understand the elements and the power of the elements in a new way. And also, a few years ago, when I would do hands-on sessions, energy sessions with people, these dragons appearing and coming through and taking a look at the person who was there, and sort of, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then just understanding, oh my God, these new frequencies and capabilities of working with these immense beings, and how immense that was, you know, and the potentials of that too, of working together in those ways. So it's amazing. But also, the dragons are coming. They've always been in our awareness, but only recently I saw the film Raya, which is a Disney movie, the animation. And it just made me tingle inside. It was joyous, the colours, everything in itself, it was an activation. But there was a remembrance there too, a message of, as if it was these crystalline, these rainbow frequencies, these new earth Christed frequencies coming through, just to show we're here, and we're ready for you when you're ready. So I
just want to touch on that movies, because
and the name Raya is so close to yours. There's, you know.
Yeah, it's very funny, because before I knew it was out, someone sent me, someone who hates that I'm a dragon, who's like, you're insane, I can't go there, sent me a text and said, I don't believe it. They've actually even made your movie. And here it is, Raya and the Last Dragon. I said, well, they nailed it pretty closely. But I love that, because the movie makers, it makes you wonder how tapped in they really are, because they might not represent as spiritual beings, or they're not necessarily on track. They're just having this creative flow, not realizing that their guides are working with them to inspire that. And so that movie, again, that whole theme of that movie, if you've seen it, or if you haven't seen it, I recommend you get it or rent it, Raya and the Last Dragon, because what's it about? Communal harmonic. They have to work together to bring the dragons back. They have to work together to bring the dragons back. And that's when all the magic unfolds. And then you see all the dragons. They nailed it with the release of the dragons. Their joy, their forms, the variations, all the things they're doing, the way they're moving. It was incredible to watch that on the screen. The other movies, the How to Train Your Dragon series.
I love those, yes.
Cressida Cowell, I mean, the books she wrote, but the people that made it into the films, so deeply triggering for those of us that are dragons. So I love that all the dragons are being triggered on the planet, whether they, totally asleep, walk into a Starbucks and get a dragon refresher juice, whatever, dragon sushi. I've had people send me pictures of so many crazy things that are now being produced that are dragon, because it's now mainstream because of the TV shows and movies. I'm like, more to it, more power to it. Yahoo, get it mainstream. It's amazing. Love it. But they are bringing us forward. It's about the communal harmonic and bringing that back in and opening our hearts to, they're not big scary beasts. They actually hold the most incredibly unconditionally loving frequency, next to what I've experienced in a direct, like God, I would say, is the only thing that I've felt that it's close to, that it's like, it's a notch below that. It's a notch below what you might feel with a direct connection to Mother, Father, God, if you can get there. But man, it's incredibly powerful. And when you say, you were asking me about these new higher frequencies, the new dragons that are coming through, they keep coming, because as we push the envelope forward, as we're able to access higher dimensions and frequencies, then it's like a bell curve where, all right, I'm here now. Well, that means I can reach out this much further. And they're waiting at that edge saying, all right, she can hear us now, or they can hear us now. And they move in and bring that. And what's interesting about it is, okay, several years ago, I might not have been able to handle the frequency of even an Arcturian or Andromedan dragon, or a dragon from another universe. But because we stair step, because our guides and our higher self align a path that gently unfolds, we constantly are integrating, we're constantly upgrading. And then we integrate, and then you upgrade. So you get over here and you're already so used to a level of energy that you wouldn't have been able to handle 2 years before. And so if it's been 4 years, you're at a place where you wouldn't even imagine the possibilities. And the more that you open to those frequencies, the more your gifts open, the more your intuition and your clairvoyance. And all the things of living in a harmonic flow, because that's the other really big piece coming in right now, is to step away from linear, step away from calendar and stuckness. And I have to be, all day, every day. What is our world ruled by? A calendar and a clock. Time only exists in 3D. If we're going to open to 5D, we've got to let go of the clock. We've got to let go of time as it exists, as we've related to it, and allow it to be in a flow where we tap into it when we need to. We don't stress about when it's not aligned, and we allow ourselves to follow our heart direction more of, oh, I actually feel like doing this. Let me reschedule this. Let me move this. Let me be fluid with it and get to it 2 hours later, or not get to it at all. And that's what I've watched unfold in my journey in the last year and a half, especially, but really predominantly in the last 6 months. We are being asked, and I think the whole shutdown of the world in the last 18 months has been the greatest gift in that sense, because it's what's creating the awakening. It's creating people finally seeing, whoa, what's going on, asking questions on whatever level they're at. But it's created space for Gaia to breathe initially. Like the skies were clear, people stopped driving, all kinds of things. Like, wow, look at Gaia can actually breathe. We're not contaminating her in this day. But it's allowed a lot more flexibility, at least in my world, to recognize and step away from the clock, step away from the strictness of the schedule, the rigidity of where we were or where I was. And that's part of that flow, and moving into communal harmonic is what everything is about right now. And so the higher dragons, those are their messagings. That's what's coming through, is what they're bringing is the ability to bring that into your field so that you can drop it down into your body, mind, the physical, mental, emotional, energy body that's trying to merge itself, and allow the transition. Allow it to be a gentle transition, because there will be those that have a very rude awakening. When there is, I do feel, and I don't know how to describe it other than saying the event, there is a moment coming where it's going to be like we flip inside out, upside down, when the full inversion into the real reality, because we're in an upside down reality in 3D. When we're actually righted, when the ship is righted and we're in that space, there's going to be either a, wow, this is what I've been waiting for, or holy crap, what just happened, for those that have been really resistant to waking. And they're going to have that shock factor. But if we allow it right now, it's like, it can be gentle. It might be fast, but it's going to be a lot more gentle than a rude awakening. So just allowing all of that, and everything's about through the heart, bringing the power and the mental centers into the heart space, and watching everything be through heart choice, heart intention, following the path of the heart. What am I inspired? What am I passionate about in this moment?
Yeah, this is what I'm feeling. Share with us, if you will, about this creative power, this passion, this newness that you're experiencing now, and what's coming through for you. I know you've created these beautiful cards, these dragon cards, and that's been a new expression of them in a way, and a new way of working with them, and a service and assistance for others to be able to use them, to be able to connect with their own inner universe and dragon realm.
So it's interesting you bring that up, and I apologize, my dogs are going in the background.
That's okay.
Obviously another animal going back up front, or it's dinner time. It has to rise up from within. And it was so interesting to know I had the Oracle deck in my field, because what happens is things start coming in like closer and closer into my sphere, and I can feel them, and I'm like, what's that I'm creating? What's there? And allowing it. It's literally about allowing it, getting out of my own way and allowing it to come through. And so if I had stressed and structured and said, oh no, I've got to have, and I remember starting with the artwork. I got the artwork done first. And I could have said, I want these done by this date. And I sort of did. I said, I'd like them by May. Well, of course, I didn't get the drawings all done till August. This was a year ago. And then I wanted this done by a certain date. And it's like, no, it's not coming. And I wanted them done by May because I wanted to put it up last summer.
So you did the illustrations?
No. I found an artist and I put it out there. I said, all right, show me the artist you guys want. Bring me the artist, because I didn't know who to connect with. I can't draw that well. And they brought me this beautiful Argentinian man who nailed everything that I sent him. He nailed it. And I find them so beautiful. I mean, just to show the images, they are stunning.
Yes.
I mean, each one is just captured so magnificently that I've actually made canvas prints from them.
Did you describe what you were seeing to him for him, or did you allow, how did the process work?
Both. I would say these are the characteristics and qualities I'm looking for. I might give they need to be winged, or they need to be, more serpentine, or whatever. And then I would let him go and get back to me. And then I would say, okay, subtly shift this. But he got it. Like the rainbow dragon. I don't know if it's up there. When I describe the rainbow dragon to him, and I'm going to find the card because it's absolutely amazing. And it ties in with what we're talking about, just being in the flow and allowing. Watch, it'll be the last card in the bottom of the deck here. Isn't that always the way? So I would have never, this is how I perceive and how I experience the rainbow dragon. But for him to capture it,
beautiful. Yes, that's incredible.
They're connected with him, and he's beautiful, and he's got dragons around him. So I knew it was the right fit. But I could have pushed that project. I could have forced and had it out last year. For some reason, the information wasn't coming. Every time that I would set aside a Friday to bring through and channel the book and the cards and what wanted to be written about them, my car would break down, somebody would need help, something would happen with my kids. Like every time, the whole day was gone. I'm like, what is going on? And it wasn't until mid-January of 2021, after the first 10 days, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I need to sit down. And I did 2 or 3 of the card descriptions that are in the booklet. And I was like, okay, that's it for today. A few days later, there would be a couple more, maybe 1, maybe 5. And I just let it flow in its own timing. And I finally was shown 2020. If we look back in the bigger picture, was a year of breaking apart the old structure. If I had forced the cards to come out in that vibration, it would have not been as supportive of a transformation into new energies. It would have been about breaking down the old structure. So because they're brought out this year, they actually carry forward into the new higher vibrations of what we are restructuring for as we move forward. And it's a totally different vibration, which makes the deck totally different. And that is that flow. That's about letting yourself get away from parameters, expectations, control limits of, oh, I've got to have it by this date because, I need, whether you need to have money coming in or you need to have this or that, whatever the parameters are that you're saying, I have to have it now. Woo, back off. Let yourself move into flow, because then you get this product. I mean, I'm looking at it, and even it was supposed to be done. I got it off and approved at the printers by April 30th. It's supposed to be a 6-week process. And those that ordered decks know they didn't get them mailed, some of them, until the beginning of August. I think the final gilded ones, there were 31, were supposed to be a lot more, but the gilded sets that have the gilded edges, they were specialized, and I autographed each set. They were supposed to go out in June, and they went out August 2nd. And I was so grateful for everyone's patience, but that was the timing it needed for whatever was happening. People received them right before or around the Lionsgate energies. There's something deeper about that. We always have to look to the bigger picture, open the perceptive, bigger box thinking of, all right, what's this really about? And so now, and waiting, I ended up with a full color book.
Wow.
I thought it was going to be in black and white. I got it in color.
It was even better than you imagined.
Better than I imagined. Beautiful box, beautiful set. And the same with the book process. When I redid the book, because I had a spiral bound, I don't have one here to show you. The original spiral bound that I made was so that it could be a workbook and opened up. And you just open it up to that page, you fold it back, it's easy. And I was like, the dragons want a new book. Well, when I created that, because the process took so long, it was about waiting and letting it be full color with drawings and beautiful stuff inside as well. And that it could then also be hardback and ordered through retailers. Like, it was like, whoa, beyond my imaginings. Let your higher self do the hard work. Really get out of your own way and let the inspiration come and watch it unfold. There might be frustrations along the way with 3D cogs and whatever, but when you just know, like, all right, there's a bigger reason, I'll just sit and wait. I'll just watch it unfold. Okay. But those little 3D like cogs are usually pieces of our own debris that's left over that we still need to see. Like, why am I frustrated with this? Why is this not working out? Why is this stuck? Why did the gilding printer mess up over half, like 75% of the decks that he was sent? I was supposed to have 100. I got 31 because they messed them all up and I can't get more. So it just, and all right, look at that. I had exactly 31 pre-orders for the gilded decks. That's all who was supposed to get them for whatever reason. Okay.
Wow. That's so perfect.
Yeah.
And to close, do you have, or do you feel there is a message that would be of assistance to humanity at this time, or the frequencies that you feel that would be? You've shared so much and given so much insight. It's been beautiful.
Well, let's sit and ask the dragons. Let's let them speak if they have something more. I would say from our conversation that the big pieces that I see right now are allowing flow and touching into communal harmonic. Where in your life are you not allowing full transparency into a communal harmonic? And that's not just seeing everyone transparently who they be, unconditionally embracing them in that space, but are you stepping in with your full transparency so that they can see you? It's two-way.
Yes.
You have to be willing to be transparent. But let me ask the dragons. I'm just going to see if there's a specific message they have. So the word vision is what's coming first. Vision and intention. Recognizing and knowing that intention is the most powerful gift that you hold within your being. And that as you hold your intention, the more clearly you can visualize and vision what you want to create, because humanity is on a new frontier of creation as a unified, literal, harmonic. It's not written yet what it will look like. The framework of the new earth is there, but you will be building it. You are part of it. And so vision and intention become the key words moving forward. And they are specifying always visioning from the heart space. It's hard to vision from the heart space when the heart space is cluttered with debris and trauma and walls. Let us come in and break them down for you. Let us come in and clear and hold the space for you to trust again. To trust yourself and to trust others. The deepest wounds of humanity are in the core of the heart around trust. Short and sweet. What the dragons like. Short and sweet.
That was so beautiful, Araya. That was beautiful. Oh. Thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful connection. I've loved every minute of it. And we may be able to speak again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.